Today on Faith Matters, Jennifer Brandt brings us a hospitality highlight featuring Elizabeth Anderson. I'm Seth Weber, and you're listening to Faith Matters, a podcast designed to help you think biblically in matters of the Christian faith and update you on matters of Faith Bible Church.
Well, welcome back to the hospitality highlight for the Living Faith magazine. I am Jennifer Brandt, and today I am interviewing Elizabeth Anderson. Elizabeth, would you tell us a little bit about your background, how long you've been at FBC, and what got you started into hosting people in your home?
Okay, we have been at FBC since it began, and we moved away to Portland because of my husband's work from 2004 to 2009. We moved back in 2009. And when we came back, it was during the housing crash. And so there was a lot of great big houses for sale for inexpensive. I never wanted a huge house, but because it was a good investment, we ended up with a really big house. So that kind of started us hosting more people, larger groups, having people stay. We had lots of bedrooms and lots of room.
And then why don't you tell us a little bit about the types of hosting that you've done in your home since then?
We have hosted for years the Doxa staff, so the college ministry staff. We've done meetings at our home and meals, prepared meals and for all of them. When they come for staff meeting, I've done a lot of showers. We've done long-term hosting for a family who had a health crisis and needed to be in Spokane for their little girl because they lived too far away from the hospital. We've done a couple of our different pastors, the Funchuses for a couple weeks and the Sayers for 6 weeks. And the Rushes we've hosted.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
I'm
trying to think of more.
The fact that you can't even remember most of it off the top of your head is really sweet.
Yeah.
Well, I love that God gave you guys a big home and you're able to bless people with it and make it comfortable for them and give them space to have their own privacy. And that's a really sweet opportunity to love people in our church and then also to be a witness to outsiders. Corey and I have also been blessed by you guys because 6 years ago you did our pre-marital counseling, and every week we got to come over and you didn't just make us a mediocre dinner, but a delicious, fancy dinner to us college students, and that was a wonderful blessing.
That was fun. That was fun. That's a good memory.
I just want to hear a little bit about why you like to host and maybe times where it was a difficult decision to host people or times where it felt like the right thing to do.
Well, I like to host because I see it as a way to love people. We're not fancy by any means, but I like my home. I want people to walk into my home and feel cozy, feel like they can put their feet up on the coffee table and rummage through the fridge and mill around in the pantry. I just like people feeling at home like that. I like to decorate, so I like to have a purpose in it besides poor Roy. Mm-hmm. And I like to share it with others. It hasn't always been easy. Sometimes it's very exhausting. And especially when it's 10 at night and you've got a whole kitchen to clean up. Mm-hmm. And so, it's just been a challenge too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Corey and I are currently hosting a Japanese college student, and this is our first time ever hosting somebody, and we don't have kids either, so this is also our first time having somebody else living with us, and there's definitely been times where I've recognized just my own selfishness. And
life's not all about you and your comfort, and those are hard lessons.
It is. Somebody recently was like, wow, I could never host somebody. Like, that is such a selfless thing to do. And I was like, if anything, I think it's shown me how much more selfish I am than I thought I was.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah, just because we've hosted a lot of people doesn't mean I haven't had to swallow and do what was right, even though I didn't feel like it. It's mostly, like I said, it's mostly Roy. Roy is so generous, and he pushes me in that direction.
Yeah. Do you know what his desire is behind that? Is he just extroverted and wants to help people?
He loves to help people. He just is an incredibly generous person. I'm getting lost in the weeds about making sure it's clean or perfectly decorated, and he's more grounded. Like, no, does not matter. Let's just be generous.
Yeah. That's
and
awesome.
He loves to do his meats. He just loves his meats and his smoker. So I just do side dishes.
Yeah, that's really helpful that you can partner together instead of one person
definitely
driving the whole thing. That you kind of hop on board and make it a joint effort. What are some things that God has taught you through hosting people?
I think for me, I'm a what if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? And He has shown me that you just do the next thing. You just live today and make the best decision for today. And He provides day after day when you have especially someone in your house for long term. You just take it one day at a time. I know that my style of having people in my home is not to cook them breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but to make them feel comfortable to go in and cook their own. Rummage through the fridge, just make it your house. So I like that.
When there were moments of maybe just coming home and wanting to shut down, but you're forced to talk with people or visit or clean to make it the cleanliness level that you want it to be, kind of what motivated you through that?
When I come home, and I do not, especially when there's children involved, I do not want to, talk with kids or whatever. And I have to rise to the occasion. I tell myself, you know what? This is not going to kill you. You're not going to end up in the hospital just because you think you're more introverted and you have to step up to the plate. You can rise to the occasion. And I think of the verse where when you serve in the strength that God provides. That's been a good scripture for me.
That's really good. For me, hosting Rinka, our student, there was a lot of moments where the introverted part of me just didn't want to socialize or talk, especially after a 10-hour workday.
Oh, gosh, yes.
But at the same time, I think God just showed me, life isn't all about you, Jennifer. And there's this person here in the U.S. who has never even heard the gospel. Right. And you have an opportunity to just love her by listening. Even I don't even have to necessarily talk. She'll just talk my ear off. So I just need to listen and show that I care.
That reminds me of another person we hosted. We hosted a medical student who was doing his rotations. And when he would get done, he would want to come home and process. And I was the person sitting there, listening to his day, listening to all the medical issues he had to face with. And I had to learn to this person needs to be listened to. Yeah. That's all is required of you right now is helping this guy process his day. And it's not always easy to be sure. Yeah.
Just a thought I had is just sweet that there's a lot of times when we just process to God in a raw or weird way, or sometimes very unfocused, and He's always just willing to hear us out, and He wants to listen, and He doesn't selfishly go, I don't want to talk to Jennifer right now or listen to what she has to say.
And I don't have to have answers. I just need to listen.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And God does that.
Yes. Yeah. You also mentioned that some of the times that you've hosted, specifically with the Sayers, how that drew you guys closer together.
Yeah. We didn't know them from anybody when they came to Spokane. And we hosted them. It was going to just be a week or two. It ended up being 6 weeks. And it has been such a blessing. And they are some of our dearest friends. And what brought us together was having them in our home and just getting to know them. And we still get together and laugh and talk about those weeks where they were with us and all our foibles and issues. And I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for that.
That's really cool.
And they showed up with one of our jokes is they showed up. I didn't know they were going to have a cat, but they showed up with their cat whose name was Kitty. But it was perfect because I love cats, and so we just were able to. It was kind of awkward for Brian and Michelle, but we didn't matter because we love cats, and we laugh about that. And the cat that was the kitty box that was in the guest room. And
oh, that's so funny. Was that before Moose?
No, that was during Moose.
Oh, okay. She has a cat named Moose.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then there have been times, I'm sure, where you maybe had opportunities or people asking you to host them and you had to maybe say no or kind of process through.
Definitely. There have been times when we've said no. Just didn't seem wise. The situation seemed like it might go sideways, and sometimes our gestures, I want to encourage people to be generous, but sometimes our gestures of generosity don't help. Mm-hmm. And we kind of like, this doesn't quite sound like, or if someone suggests that our basement has a lot of room, but it's not a separate apartment. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of young kids, and are they going to be upstairs all the time? Can I see the conflict that might happen there? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's just a wisdom issue. There's been a couple of times when and luckily it's both of us. We can talk it through. Mm-hmm.
What's the longest amount of time you've hosted?
Probably Kylie Wicker, who had just graduated from college, and she lived with us the first year she was out of college, that whole year before she got married. And interesting enough, the Sayers stayed with us during that time too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we had a full house.
Yeah, you did. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was how many months?
So she probably moved in August, and she got married the following May.
Okay.
And that fall was when the Sayers stayed with us for 6 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. Having somebody there for that long of a period of time, was there challenges that came?
Oh, for sure. For
that?
sure. Yeah. Yeah, just little things like who's going to clean what, all that stuff, kind of responsibilities. And those got to be clarified. And I hate awkward conversations.
Me too.
They have to happen.
I've had to have a lot with our Japanese student. Yeah.
They're hard.
It is.
But it didn't kill our relationship. And so.
And it's necessary because sometimes, at least I've learned that it's not really fair to that person if I'm getting upset and not telling them, maybe I need you to clean the underside of your toilet seat, not just the top. It's so hard to have those conversations.
Yes. And it's so funny with Kylie now. Kylie is a missionary in Cameroon, married. Just remembering her, just fresh out of college, and just now she's a mom of 2, and I'm so fun to have see her grow and mature as a person. Has been a blessing to be part of.
Mm-hmm. What are some ways that you have seen God just kind of bless some relationships or things that He's taught you, maybe more positive things that God's taught you through hosting people?
Well, I think like I've mentioned, the friendship with the Sayers, the Funches weren't there with us as long, but yet we have I feel like there's just a special relationship there. Definitely with Kylie, with Aaron and Abby Urseth, whose little girl had leukemia and stayed with us. They're just special. We just, we don't see each other a lot, but I think there was just a special bond. And especially when Abby first came with her family, they'd been living together in a tiny hospital room. And when I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, but when they ended up at our house, because someone said they didn't know us, she walked in the door and she just cried in my arms. I was like, that was just so special to be able to hug her and say, we're going to love you here. And they were very independent and required nothing of us. But that was really special. That was it's like being able to be an answer to prayer for them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so cool to just see how God uses the church body to answer needs and be there. And the fact that you're just willing to do that too. I mean, God desires for us to help those who are in need, and that you responded to that, even if you had to sacrifice, comforts.
And they didn't require much sacrifice. They're just a lovely family.
That's sweet. What about things that have brought you and Roy together through hosting? What are ways that that's helped and maybe challenged your marriage and brought you guys closer together?
I think the times it's challenged is when we're just tired, and then we're not at our best sometimes when we're tired, the way we treat each other. But what's brought us together, I think, is that our home is not our own. Definitely. And we didn't seek out a big house, and yet we ended up with one, and that's God. And doing it together, we love, it's a ministry we do together. And that's brought us together.
That's really cool. What is something you would say to somebody who maybe has an extra room to be able to host somebody, but that feels nervous or kind of has just apprehensions or maybe even just some excuses as to not to do it? What would you say?
I mean, not everyone is, I would say, how has God made you? How has God gifted you? I think both Roy and I, we could say one of our gifts is hospitality. So first of all, I would say everybody's not gifted the same. Somebody might have a gift of, helping people with their finances, or, it's not hospitality. So how God has wired you, although we're all called to be hospitable, that's something that God directs us to do. Like I said, I'm a worst case scenario, but what if it hasn't actually happened? I can just create these things in my mind, and I can say always, God gave me the strength that I needed for that day. It is a daily strength thing. Never went into the hospital because my introvert, self got invaded or anything like that. I told myself, this isn't going to kill you. So.
That's really good. Thank you so much for sharing.
Sure.
Now I want to talk to you about these delicious cookies that you made.
Okay.
So tell us what this recipe calls for and how you kind of make them start to finish and what's special about it.
They call for lots and lots of butter. They are a shortbread cookie. It's not an unusual new recipe, but it's one that you can pull out because it's just basically flour and butter and sugar, good sugar, baking powder, and it's a shortbread that you make and chill and then bring out and form into balls. You can fill it with any kind of jam. It's really pretty at Christmas to do raspberry or cherry. The ones I made are filled with apricot jam, and they have some almond flavoring, so that's a really good combo. But they are maybe a little nicer cookie that I've done for showers, holidays. I don't make them every week, but a little bit more of a special occasion, yet pretty darn simple. So
yeah, everybody loves a good go-to simple cookie recipe that can be versatile and used for many occasions.
And yes, I do have ingredients for that. If you've got butter, flour, sugar, keep some almond flavoring around.
Perfect.
Yeah.
How long do they take start to finish?
So let's see, I made them yesterday. So you make up the dough and you chill it for a couple hours, and then you bring it out and you form it into balls and make the thumbprint, the fingerprint or whatever in them, fill them with jam, and then you refrigerate them for another 20 minutes, and then you bake them. Let them cool. I top mine with a glaze, kind of try and do a little fancy drizzling of glaze on them. So you do that once they're all the way cool. So you just have to plan ahead, a little bit ahead. You can't just whip them out and have them done in half an hour. But you got to allow for time for chilling.
Yeah, well, they're delicious. So
thank you.
Thank you. I'm excited for the church to get to try these too. Yeah, those are amazing. Well, thank you so much for being with us and being willing to do an interview for the church. I definitely feel blessed by your wisdom and your experiences, and I hope that the rest of the body feels that way too.
Well, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
hope so.
If this recipe is something you'd like to try, you can pick up a copy of Living Faith magazine at Faith Bible Church, or you can access it online at fbchurch.org/magazine by clicking on the Spring 2025 publication.